Looks like
Okay.
the attendees number has just about leveled off, please.
All right, super. Thank you very much, Alex. Good afternoon, and welcome to the first webinar series of 2024. Happy New Year from the New York Association on Independent Living, or NILE. I am Blaze Bryant, the communications specialist for the association. It's a pleasure to have you here with us for the webinar. A few housekeeping things before we get started. Number one, the chat is disabled. This is an accessibility accommodation for people who use screen readers. Number two, in order to ask questions, you can put them in the Q&A box. Our presenters will get to questions at the end, so there's a good chance as the presentation is happening, they will answer the question that you have. And I will make sure that we leave time for questions at the end, of course. Number three, there will be a survey at the end of the webinar because we want this to be a collaborative experience, for the webinar series. So any ideas, thoughts you have on the webinar, that's the best place to let us know. Number four, the webinar will be and is being recorded. The recording will be made available. You'll get a follow-up email with everything. Last but certainly not least, there will be two recordings, one that does not contain the ASL and CART, and one that does. If you need the recording for ASL and CART, that'll be a YouTube video because at this time, Zoom does not have that capability as far as I know. Okay, enough logistical stuff. Let's cut to the chase and talk about accessing public benefits and supports within the community. Joining us from the Southern Adirondack Independent Living Center, or SAIL, that's S-A-I-L, are Elizabeth Cox and Deven Springer. If you were at our NILE conference in 2023 and attended their workshop, well, you either heard or saw them. And because this session was so popular at our conference, we wanted to bring them back again. So without any further ado, let me introduce them individually. Elizabeth, great to see you. Thank you so much.
Blaze, thanks for having us.
You are very welcome. And Deven, great to meet you and thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Okay, I'm going to turn things over to you.
All right. So my name is Deven Springer. I am the lead facilitated enroller for Southern Adirondack Independent Living. My role is to assist individuals with obtaining health insurance and ensuring proper supports within the community.
And hi, I am Elizabeth Cox, and I am the lead independent living specialist at SAIL. I assist with teaching independent living skills, such as budgeting and job seeking, along with benefits advisement and application assistance with a focus on Social Security benefits.
Again, we are from Southern Adirondack Independent Living, also known as SAIL. We have 3 locations. Our main campus is in Queensbury, and we do have 2 satellite offices in Wilton and Plattsburgh. Our mission is to help people live independently, and we help people achieve goals with an array of services that we offer. We serve 16 counties within New York State, covering from Columbia Green all the way to the Canadian border. Today, we're going to talk about accessing public benefits and supports within the community. We're going to touch on Social Security and County Medicaid, how they work, the eligibility criteria, how to apply, and how to keep these programs working for you. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Elizabeth so that way she can talk to you about Social Security.
So we're now going to talk about the Social Security programs that your consumers or you yourself may have. Social Security disability was introduced and passed into law in 1956. It was a program for people who were working but no longer could due to their medical conditions. In the years after this life-changing law was passed, Social Security realized that many people were left out due to the strict rules that the program had. Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, was then passed into law in 1972. This program helped meet the gaps that was left by Social Security disability due to the fact that the new eligibility was based upon having limited resources rather than work credits. Before we dive into the programs, we need to establish how Social Security defines disability. To meet the definition of disability, a person must not be able to engage in any substantial work activity because of their medical conditions. The medical conditions must be either expected to result in death, or have lasted, or are expected to last for at least a year. It is important to know that while many doctors will tell someone that they are disabled, that does not factor into Social Security's decision. The person's medical conditions must meet this very strict definition, and only Social Security is the one to determine that. Social Security disability mimics retirement, meaning that in order to qualify, a person must pay into the system in order to draw on it. In order to be eligible for disability in most situations, a person will have to have 40 work credits. In 2024, a person can earn a work credit for every $1,730 they earn per quarter, or $6,920 a year. There is a maximum and minimum benefit for disability as well, with $100 being the minimum and $3,248 being the maximum in 2024. It is up to Social Security to determine when the disability actually began for a person. They can use the filing date of the application, the date a person last worked, or even a diagnosis date of a condition. This means that the person can have a waiting period for up to 6 months for their benefits to actually begin after their application is approved. If a person is qualified for Social Security disability, they will also be automatically qualified for Medicare after a 24-month waiting period. This means that they may have to wait to obtain health insurance coverage, or it could start automatically. Again, Social Security will determine when the disability begins, and this will determine when Medicare does as well. SSI is a program for people who have a limited income and resources, who are blind, aged 65 or older, or have a qualifying disability. While this may seem similar to disability, there are very important differences to know. First is the difference in benefit amount. The maximum benefit amount for SSI in 2024 is $943 a month, which was actually, again, a significant increase from last year. If two people are disabled, married, and both receive SSI, they will receive a single benefit of $1,415 a month. Not only does a person need to have a qualifying disability, but also the second important difference to note is about the limited resources. For a single person, they cannot have more than $2,000, and a married couple cannot have more than $3,000. This resource limit applies to couples whether or not they both receive SSI or only one person in the relationship does. Some examples of resources are cash at home, bank accounts, stocks, mutual funds, life insurances, and even vehicles. Someone who is on SSI can only own one vehicle and only own one property. While there's no accompanying health insurance with SSI, the majority of the people who receive SSI will be eligible for Medicaid and other public benefits like SNAP and HEAP. SSI is not only for people with a qualifying disability, it is a supplemental program for those in need. For those who are aged 65 and up, there will not be a disability determination process. The only thing that will be needed is a financial review with the Social Security Administration. Before we start to talk about knowing how to spot the differences in the programs, it is very important to know that someone can receive Social Security disability and SSI at the same time. Along with both of those programs, someone could also receive a New York State supplemental payment as well. What does this mean? It means that it's not as easy as one or the other. I will go over some short tips on how to spot the differences, but I will also go over how to get the actual benefit type and the amount. While this is not a hard and fast rule, if someone receives more than $1,000 in benefits, they are most likely receiving Social Security disability. Many times, someone may get confused on what benefits they receive, but know that they cannot keep more than $2,000 in their bank accounts. If they know that, then that means that they have SSI. Another key way to be able to tell the difference is what health insurance someone has. With both benefits, someone can have Medicaid as their health insurance, but only disability beneficiaries will receive Medicare. One more way to be able to tell what type of benefit someone receives is by knowing when they get their benefit. All SSI benefits are paid on the first of each month, unless the first is on a weekend. Disability and all other programs through Social Security are paid based upon birthdays on various Wednesdays throughout the month. These are all tips and tricks on how to quickly identify what kind of benefits someone receives. However, the only way to really know is to check with Social Security. This can be done multiple ways: by calling the local office, by checking a benefit award letter that someone received, or by creating a My Social Security account. While Social Security disability and supplemental security income are two of the most common benefits that someone may have, it is important to know about the other kinds, as they all have their own rules. The first is the disabled adult child benefit. In order for someone to qualify for this, a few things need to line up. The disability needs to have begun before the age of 22. The parent or guardian of the person must be claiming on their own benefits, whether through retirement or a disability benefit themselves, and the person must be at least 18. While this benefit is rare, it is very beneficial for the person to have, as their benefit rate will be higher. The next is the disabled widow's benefit. This benefit is for people who are already receiving disability and will be able to claim a higher benefit rate on their deceased spouse record. SSP is a program through New York State for people who receive SSI payments. There's not an application to be completed. When an application is filed for SSI, an application is also filed for SSP. The maximum benefit is $87 for an individual, but that can change depending on marital status, income, and living situation. If someone is living in New York and receives the SSP benefit, they are automatically eligible for Medicaid. Next, we're going to talk about the definition of disability for a child. Social Security does not look into how the medical condition affects the child's ability to work. Instead, the medical condition or disability must seriously limit the child's day-to-day activities. But what is similar is the duration of the medical condition. It either must have lasted for at least a year, or will continue to last at least a year, or will result in death. Resources do play a part when a family applies for a child. The child must be able to meet the definition and fall under resource guidelines. There's no minimum age requirement for a child to apply. Parents or guardians can apply right away, and benefits can start on the date of birth. The child can receive benefits right up until they turn 18, but after that, they will have to reapply for benefits. Unfortunately, an application cannot start for adult SSI benefits until they turn 18, so there may be a lapse of benefit payments. Also, due to differing definitions of disability, many people who qualified for childhood benefits may not be eligible for benefits after they turn 18. A childhood SSI application requires an additional financial interview with Social Security after the disability report is filed online. Resource limits are also slightly different when it comes to childhood benefits. The child themselves must have less than $2,000 in resources, and Social Security will take into account the parent or guardian's income through a process called deeming. Under deeming, Social Security will look at income and family size and then make appropriate deductions. After the deductions are made, the remaining income and resources will be used to determine if the family meets the resource limit. So now that we've talked about all of the programs someone could have, we need to talk about how to actually apply for those programs. There are a few ways for someone to go about applying. First is to call Social Security and request a phone interview. I always encourage people to call their local office rather than the national 1-800 number. Anyone can find their local office using the online location tool on Social Security's website. Phone wait times are always shorter when calling the local office, and appointment times are always sooner. Next would be to call or stop into a local independent living center and request an appointment for in-person or over the phone. The independent living specialist will be able to help guide someone through the application process. There is a new appointment request tool that Social Security implemented 2 years ago on their website. Any person can go on and request an appointment for themselves or someone else. This appointment request tool is for SSI applications only, however. So if someone is unsure what benefit they would be eligible for, I would encourage them to call their local office or create a My Social Security account to view their earning history. The last option would be for someone to work with a lawyer. Post-COVID, Social Security now only does applications over the phone unless an accommodation is requested. There is a lot of information that is going to be needed for a Social Security application, so it is important for someone to be prepared when their appointment comes along. The person is going to need to know all of their diagnosed medical conditions. And yes, I encourage them to put all of them, including their mental health, physical health, and even underlying conditions. All current or recent doctors that they have seen for those conditions, any hospitals or facilities that they've had appointments at or have had inpatient visits at, any medications that they are currently taking, and any relevant. The final part of the application is employment history. The person will need to be able to report either their 5 most recent jobs or 15 years of employment history. Social Security uses the employment history for 2 things. First, it's to be able to determine eligibility for Social Security disability. Remember those 40 work credits, but also to see if someone can go back to a previous job. It is the goal of the application to prove that someone cannot return to a previous job or find a job in that field that they are able to do. This slide is the Social Security worksheet. This worksheet provides a guideline for people to be able to gather what information they will need, along with organizing it for the application. It was recently updated to allow for more space and information. The majority of applications for Social Security benefits will be completed electronically. However, there's a specific application process that is completed on paper with trained staff. The Vulnerable Population Application Program, or VPAP, is designed to assist at-risk populations. People who are either aged, homeless, are veterans, are reentering the community from recent incarceration, have a limited English proficiency, have severe mental health conditions, or children who fit any of these categories can complete an application for benefits this way. Applications that are completed through VPAP are not expedited. Instead, specialized staff process them in a different way. It is important for anyone who assists people in filing for benefits to be aware of VPAP and the benefit it can bring to its population. So, someone has applied for Social Security benefits. What should they expect? An initial application can take up to 6 months to process. This time includes Social Security actually accepting and initially reviewing the application. After the application is processed and an SSI interview is completed if necessary, the application will then be transferred to the New York State Office of Temporary Disability Assistance. This is the office where medical records and information will be sent for review. The New York State OTDA caseworker and Social Security will call a person periodically concerning their application. Forms, such as the adult function and job history reports, will be sent and be expected to be completed. And an appointment with an independent medical examiner will be scheduled. Once all of these forms and reports are completed, the caseworker will then make the determination. At any point, if the applicant receives forms late, they will need to contact the New York State OTDA caseworker right away. Extensions can be given, but they will need to be requested. Finally, if someone is denied, they can file for reconsideration. A reconsideration is a reboot to the application. It will take all of the new medical information from the initial filing date to the denial date and add it to the application. The newly updated application will then be passed along to a new New York State OTDA caseworker to review and literally reconsider the case. The denials can be for either medical or non-medical reasons. If the initial reconsideration is denied, the applicant will then need to contact a lawyer for assistance. I will now pass it over to Deven to discuss Medicaid.
All right, today we're going to focus solely on non-Magi Medicaid. This is also referred to as County Medicaid or ABD Medicaid. This type of insurance provides healthcare coverage for individuals who are age 65 or older, blind, or have a disability that's recognized by New York State. These applications are processed through your local Department of Social Services or in New York City, the Human Resources Administration. There are many different ways that you can receive assistance with the completion of a Medicaid application. You can obtain one from your local Department of Social Services and complete it on your own. Connect with a facilitated enroller who offers free assistance and guidance while navigating through the application process. And of course, consulting an elder law attorney. Here on the screen is a list of some agencies that have facilitated enrollers on staff along with the counties that they serve. You can also find this information on your local Department of Social Services website or at your local Office of the Aging. Keep in mind that in order to obtain county Medicaid, it is not a fast process. The county will need supporting documentation to be submitted along with the application. You'll need to submit items such as proof of identity, proof of income, assets, and other resources that may be available to you. If you are in the beginning stages of considering applying, it is best practice to request the document checklist to start gathering this information, as it does take quite a bit of time, especially if you're applying on somebody else's behalf. After all the required documents are gathered and you are ready to move forward with the application process, you will need to complete both the Access New York and the Supplement A applications. Once completed, the application along with all required documentation will be sent directly to the county for review. Make sure that is noted for the best way for the person screening your application to reach you or reach you if they require more documentation or clarification. As I said before, this is not a fast process. This may take up to 60 days for a determination to be sent out to the applicant. In some cases, if the applicant is requesting in-home services and there is no proper support available to keep them safe within the community, you can submit what's called an immediate need form, requesting the county to prioritize the application to receive a notice of decision faster. Here on the screen is a list of needed documents required to submit an application. This is going to be required for everybody inside the household, regardless if they're applying for coverage or not. This information will be required for all applicants. However, only individuals who are seeking nursing home coverage are required to submit the last 5 years of bank statements and income tax. Since Medicaid adheres to strict income guidelines, an applicant must make sure their income and resources match the current year's limits. In 2024, the income limits for a single individual is $1,677, and they can retain up to $30,182 in resources. A couple can receive up to $2,268 in income and retain up to $40,821 in resources. Keep in mind that resources are going to be anything that can be counted to be utilized to pay for healthcare. This is going to include any cash value for life insurance policy, cash value for funeral agreements, monies in checkings or savings accounts, stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. If you are over these limits, it is always best to consult an attorney to explore options to be able to protect your resources. There are a few different options for Medicaid that an applicant can choose from. Each type offers different benefits. These include community coverage with long-term care, nursing home coverage, and the Medicaid buy-in for working persons with disabilities. With community coverage, this option provides health insurance coverage that covers most healthcare, such as doctor visits, hospital visits, lab tests, and prescription drugs. This is an added insurance that most individuals who are currently on Medicare choose to enroll in as a secondary insurance type. The next option is community coverage with long-term care. This will include all the benefits of community coverage, as well as other services. An individual who requires support to live safely and independently in the community would select this coverage as it provides access to self-directed care, as well as the NHTD, the Nursing Home Transition and Diversion, and the TBI, Traumatic Brain Injury waivers. Other benefits include adult day health care, assisted living, hospice in the community, and much more. If an individual is residing in a skilled nursing facility, they can apply for nursing home coverage Medicaid. This coverage will pay for the patient's stay and care as long as they maintain Medicaid eligibility. Another type of Medicaid I would like to speak about briefly is the Medicaid buy-in for working persons with disabilities. This program offers Medicaid coverage to people with disabilities who are working and earning more than the allowable income limits for regular Medicaid. To qualify, an individual must be a resident of New York State, be between the ages of 16 and 65, and have a disability that is defined by the Social Security Administration. They must be currently engaged in work either part-time or full-time. Individuals can have a gross income of $73,932 a year, and a couple can have a gross income of $99,636 a year. However, the standard resource limits still apply. The retirement counts are, though, disregarded while determining eligibility if the individual is employed. Once you have applied and you receive a notice of decision in the mail, it will indicate whether or not you have been approved for Medicaid. If you've been approved, your benefit cards will be sent out in the mail within 7 to 10 business days. However, if the county has determined you ineligible, there are some things that you can do to become Medicaid eligible depending on the reason. Some of these options include the excess income program, submitting your excess income or spend down directly to the county, creating a special needs trust, or purchasing approved medically necessary items and submitting the receipts directly to the county. If you are over the income limits for Medicaid, but have medical bills that exceed your excess income or spend down amount, you may submit these bills to the county and request a rebudget to see if your spend down can be reduced or even eliminated. If your spend down requirement is not a significant amount, you can purchase approved medically necessary items and submit the receipts to the county. Some examples of these are vitamins, aspirins, bladder control products, much more. You can find a list of all approved items on the county's website. Another way to meet your spend down is by submitting the payment directly to the county. Once you have made your payment, or in other words, paid your premium, you will have coverage for that month. Lastly, and the most common way you can meet eligibility criteria is by creating what's called a supplemental needs trust or an SNT. By doing so, you would submit the amount that you are over income to the trust, and you can utilize the funds in that trust for non-medical transactions. Once you provide proof of the joinder agreement and your initial deposit to the county, your Medicaid will activate for the following month. The benefit of establishing a trust is you can utilize funds to make payments such as rent, mortgage, car payments, typically anything with a bill. An elder law attorney or a representative from the selected trust can assist you with creating and maintaining that trust.
All right. Now that we've learned about the Social Security programs, we are now going to talk about the Ticket to Work program and work incentives. Ticket to Work is the program that provides people who are on disability and want to return to work certain protections. Someone can assign their ticket to either an employment network or a vocational rehabilitation agency for career assistance. Locally, we have Access VR down in Albany. The trial work period is not only a work incentive, but a benefit protection program. It is a rolling 60-month period that allows a person who receives disability to work for 9 months and earn any amount. A trial work month is entered into when someone works and earns more than $1,110 a month. The 9 trial work months do not need to be consecutive, but are limited to 9 in a lifetime. During these 9 months, the person will continue to receive their full benefits no matter how much they make. Substantial gainful activity is the determining figure Social Security looks at. For someone who is employed, SGA is $1,550 a month in 2024. When someone is applying for either disability or SSI and are currently working, they will need to earn less than SGA each month in order to be qualified for the application. If you are self-employed, Social Security looks at not only earnings, but also the time spent working. SGA stands for substantial gainful activity, not amount. Social Security determines that any month where someone who is self-employed and works for 80 hours or more to be gainfully employed. After someone has used all of their 9 trial work months, they will enter into the extended period of eligibility. The extended period of eligibility is a 36-month period during which a person will continue to earn their full benefit check as long as their earnings are under SGA. The extended period of eligibility concludes the trial work period. As long as someone who receives disability continues to work and earn less than SGA, their benefits will continue indefinitely. The trial work period provides protections such as waiving continuing disability reviews. So, a worker needs to be aware that while they may not lose their benefits for working and being under SGA, they could lose their benefits due to a disability review after the extended period of eligibility. If someone completed their 9 trial work months and continued working above SGA, protection programs do not just end. Medicare Part A coverage will continue for 93 months after the benefits stop. The person will need to maintain and pay their premium, however. The person will also be in what's called the expedited reinstatement period. This 5-year safety net allows someone to ask for their disability benefits to begin again if they are no longer able to work. Social Security will review their previous and potentially new medical conditions and make a new determination. So, in conclusion, as long as someone works and earns less than $1,110 a month, absolutely nothing will happen to their disability benefits. If someone works and earns more than that a month, the trial work period will start. In the 60-month period, a person can work and earn as much as they want for 9 months to try working. After those 9 months, they will continue to receive their benefits indefinitely as long as they stay under substantial gainful activity, which again in 2024 is $1,550 a month. Social Security has special rules for workers who are blind. SGA is raised to $2,590 a month. And if someone is self-employed, the time spent working and managing their business is not counted if net profits are under SGA. For people who are blind and aged 55 and older, if earnings exceed SGA, benefits are not terminated, only paused. Due to SSI being a supplemental program, earnings will have a direct impact. Social Security does not count the first $85 a person works and earns. After that, for every $2 someone makes, their benefit will be reduced by $1. It is also important to note that the earnings impact will not be seen the same month that the earnings are made. Earnings will affect the 3rd month after, meaning income that is earned in October will be reported to Social Security in November and then show its impact in December's benefit check. Here is an example of how earnings affect SSI. Take someone who receives the full SSI monthly payment of $943. If they work and earn $900 a month, their benefit will be impacted as shown. Social Security will waive the first $85, which brings their income down to $815. After that, the $815 will be divided by 2, which gives the figure of $407.50. Then, to figure out the new benefit amount, that $407.50 will be subtracted from the $943. The new monthly benefit amount will now be $535.50. While that is a large reduction to the benefit, the new total monthly income is now going to be $1,435.50, which is a significant increase. People who are on SSI can understandably be nervous when working, but as we've shown, working greatly impacts monthly income and financial freedom. Now that we've talked about income's impact, we will now go over a few programs that can help maximize those earnings. The first program is the Plan to Achieve Self-Support, or a PASS plan. This is a plan for people who have SSI to be able to get items, services, or other things to achieve a work goal. An example is a person who wants to be a self-employed contractor, so they work and set aside money to be able to start advertising and purchase tools for their new business. It is not a savings account for vehicles, however. The plan is a short-term savings account used to achieve a work goal. While a vehicle can help someone get to their job, the vehicle is not the goal, the job is. Next is an Achieving a Better Life Experience account. An ABLE account is a tax-advantaged savings account for people who are on SSI benefits and became disabled before the age of 26. A person can save up to $100,000 in this account and not have it be counted as a resource. The money in this account will have to be utilized for qualified disability expenses, however, such as assisted devices. Another program that will help is the Student Earned Income Exclusion. This is specifically for students to be able to save money to further their education and career aspirations. An example would be a college student who works over the summer to be able to afford books and school supplies for their upcoming semester of college. The final benefit that we will touch base on are IRWEs, or impairment-related work expenses. An IRWE is a cost for an item or service that someone needs to be able to work. It can either be a regular expense, such as transportation, or one-time purchase, such as a wheelchair or other assisted devices. Depending on the cost and how regular that expense is, IRWEs allow someone to work and really maximize their earnings.
All right, now that you've applied and you've been approved, how do you keep these programs working for you? You're going to always want to keep the county informed on any changes, keep them up to date with the correct contact number, as well as any address changes, changes in income or marital status. If you received assistance from a facilitated enroller, you want to make sure that they are aware of these changes as well. Once you have Medicaid, you do need to recertify each year. One of the benefits of working with an FE is that you can opt to have notices and recertification packets sent to them as well. This will help if you receive a notice and you need help understanding it, and it also gives the facilitated enroller permission to recertify on your behalf.
It is also important to make sure to regularly report any changes to Social Security, including address changes, marital status changes, and most importantly, reporting income by the 5th of the following month. Next, it would be to stay in contact with your independent living specialist. As an independent living specialist, we can help explain the changes in status that would due to any benefits someone receives. Finally, we're going to go over how to report and update those changes. First would be to just call your local office and report changes over the phone.
Bring your pay stubs to the local office.
The most outdated, but my preference, is the faxing in the pay stubs and any relevant changes to your local office. This is the only method that provides a confirmation that the report was submitted or changed.
And reporting wages electronically through your My Social Security account.
And here are the citations and relevant resources where we obtained the information for today's presentation. Any questions?
There are some questions in the Q&A box, and we have about 15 minutes left before we hit the top of the hour and we all turn into pumpkins here. So Elizabeth and Devin, are you seeing the Q&A box?
Yes.
Okay, because you can go ahead and start reading those off.
Okay.
And I'll be doing my summarized answers and dismissing the questions as we go along. And actually, before you do, I just want to caution folks, keep the commentary to minimum in the Q&A box, and please only use that for questions.
We have someone just asking to go back to the last page, so I want to check and see, is that this page or the citations? The citations, perfect. Okay. So the first question's asking, we rarely help families with children apply for SSI. I understand the concept of deeming, but if a parent asks what the income limit is before they apply for SSI, what would you tell them? I do caution people when I help them apply for SSI for a child of that very strict resource limit. And typically I do inform them of the 2,000 or the 3,000. If the parents are married, the 3,000 resource limit. I don't know how Social Security breaks down the deeming process, but I do let them know that, hey, this is typically what it is for someone. Do you ever have more in your bank account than $3,000? If they do say yes, I let them know, you know, I'm more than happy to still help you apply. However, just be aware, you know, that your child may get denied not based upon their conditions, but purely just based upon the resources. I never tell someone to not apply. I just caution them, you know, hey, the resource limit is typically 2,000 to 3,000. Next question is asking, have you had issues with people losing their benefits for no reason at all? Typically, there's always a reason. Whether or not the person knows the reason is a different story. And that's, as an independent living specialist, that's what we help people figure out is we sit with them and call Social Security or look through their My Social Security account or any notices that they receive from Social Security. And we help them figure out why they lost their benefit and then how we can rectify that situation. Maybe the person, you know, was working and never reported their wages, or they moved, or Social Security will also end benefits or end an application if notices are returned. So a lot of times someone moved and just didn't update their address. So there's always a reason behind it, but it's our job to help them find out the reason. And then someone did say that they wrote a past plan for a van. That's absolutely amazing. I've only helped with a few past plans in my experience. I've just always been cautioned from Social Security that it is not a savings account for vehicles. So that's what I tell the people that I work with. But that's absolutely fantastic. And I'd actually probably want to talk to you a little bit more about your success with that plan. But I just go by what Social Security says, and they are very firm, at least from what they've told me, that the past plans are not for vehicles, but that's amazing. Does anyone else have any other questions or anything? Okay, it was in 2008. So some things may have changed since 2008. Social Security likes to make those little changes and not tell anyone. So, but yeah, I think that may be it for questions. On the screen is mine and Deven's contact information. So if anyone has further questions or has a more specific question, feel free to reach out to us directly for it.
And just for accessibility purposes, since folks who use screen readers cannot see the shared content or are not able to read the shared content on the screen, would you be able to read out your contact info?
Yes.
We'll start with Elizabeth first, and then we'll go over to you, Deven.
Yep. So sales phone number is going to be area code 518-792-3537. Again, 518-792-3537. And I am directly at extension 1135. Again, my direct extension is 1135. And my email is my first name, ELIZABETH. Then my last initial, C as in cat, at SAILHELPS.org. So my email is elizabethc@salehelps.org.
All right, and my number is the same for the 518-792-3537. My direct extension is 1745. And my email is Deven, DEVEN @sale, SAIL, helps, HELPS.org.
We did get a question. I'm guessing this is going to be geared more toward Elizabeth. Someone is asking you to speak about HEAP, which, hey, that's a great time. This is a great time of the year to talk about it for sure.
So HEAP is the heating assistance program through the county. And people who are on disability do have a higher limit for income for HEAP. However, I don't know if you have any specific questions about HEAP. We do always encourage anyone who receives disability or SSI to apply for HEAP benefits, as most likely they are going to be qualified along with SNAP. And we do assist with both SNAP and HEAP applications here in any of our offices at SAIL. I didn't know if you had any further specific questions on HEAP, but feel free to reach out to me directly and we can kind of go back and forth. And then someone asked, are you able to recommend a point, condition, or circumstance that you would recommend that a Social Security obtains an attorney? Yes. So we here at SAIL, we assist through the initial application, through the first appeal. After the first appeal, we help them with all the following paperwork as well. However, if they were to get denied a second time, that's when they would need to go in front of an administrative law judge. At that point, we would refer them out to a disability attorney, Social Security attorney, or a local legal aid society. As that is, the application becomes a legal matter. So we help through the whole entire process through that second denial. And then the second denial is the point where I would recommend a lawyer. And then the next question is a pension or a savings be considered one of the resources Social Security would take into consideration while calculating resources? Yes. So, however, if someone has a pension, they most likely have paid into the system long enough to receive disability rather than SSI. So that I wouldn't necessarily be concerned about a pension for resources, but yes, a pension would be considered a resource for considering someone to be qualified for SSI or not.
We have a few more minutes in case people have other questions, or if you have an individual circumstance. My recommendation would be to either reach out to Elizabeth or Deven directly, or contact your local independent living center, which you can find at our website, ilny.org. So we'll give it a minute or two here in case people have additional questions. Did something else come in as I was answering
It was
as I was answering live?
It was the pension question that I just answered.
Okay, that's the one that I was just starting to answer live to here. Okay, seeing no other questions, thank you everyone for attending the webinar. You will get the recording and slides after the webinar here in the coming days. Again, thank you for joining us, and be sure to mark your calendar because the second Wednesday of every month is going to be our webinar series. Hashtag Webinar Wednesday. The next one is going to be on Valentine's Day, February 14th from 1 to 2 p.m. The Office of New Americans will be going over their services and how they are able to help new Americans with disabilities. I had a great planning meeting with Cynthia Stewart, who's going to be doing the presentation, and there is the potential to have some great collaboration there. So the webinar announcement will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. So keep an eye out for that. And have a great rest of the day. Deven and Elizabeth, thank you both very much for this wonderful and informative webinar.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.